Bowser's Fury is more important than you think, and by the end of this video, I want to be able to convince you that Bowser's Fury is about to lead us to the next evolution of 3D Mario. Now, how many times have I talked about 3D Mario and an open world Mario game at that? A lot. I mean, more than probably most people online right now, because I just think there's so much potential. But today, I'm not just randomly talking about open world 3D Mario. I'm talking about why Bowser's Fury happened, and I'm taking every element from that game and explaining why, to me, it was all one big tech demo in order to prepare us for something absolutely massive. And I actually want to directly compare every element of Bowser's Fury and tell you exactly how it's about to translate over to the brand new game. There's a lot I want to touch on here, so before we get started, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. Likes definitely do help the video algorithm, so I cannot thank you guys enough. Definitely give the video a thumbs up. But I think we can all agree that Bowser's Fury was a strange game. A lot of people like to compare it to Sonic Generations, where they actually just released a Sonic x Shadow Generations, which actually adds a side mode with Shadow. But for the most part, it doesn't change the formula all too much. Shadow's story definitely has a different feeling with slightly different controls, and even gives Shadow a small open world hub world to run around in. So it is pretty daggone similar to that of Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. The difference here is that it's not doing anything revolutionary for Sonic, not at all. In fact, we already got kind of an open world Sonic game with open zones with Sonic Frontiers. So Shadow having a small open world hub world with segmented levels really didn't change the formula all too much. But Bowser's Fury, on the other hand, was vastly different than its counterpart, Mario 3D World. Mario 3D World is probably the most linear 3D Mario experience out there. There's absolutely no room for roaming around an open world or any type of open area. I mean, there's a couple levels that are a little bit bigger and wider for you to explore a little bit, but nothing along the lines of something like 64 Sunshine or even Super Mario Odyssey. But Bowser's Fury does something completely opposite of 3D World. Not only going open sandbox, but literally going open world, allowing us to traverse literally everything that you can explore within that game mode. The whole Lake Lapcat is able to be explored at your leisure, although you do have to unlock specific islands before you can reach them after collecting a certain amount of cat shines. But it's completely different here. You actually get a look at what an open world Mario game could look like. First off, we have the world, and I think this is the most important part of the entire game. And if you look at what Bowser's Fury did, I think they're going to replicate something very similar. This is not going to be like Breath of the Wild, where you can go anywhere from the start and you have to get to towers in order to unlock parts of your map. I think every single area is going to, for the most part, be locked until you collect a certain amount of stars, shines, whatever it is that you're collecting in this game in each world. So once you collect a certain amount of that collectible, it then will open up one world at a time, allowing you to explore them slowly until eventually opening them all up, allowing you to go wherever you want to collect the remaining shines or stars that you need in order to complete the game. Now, a lot of people are terrified for Mario to be in an open world, where their fear is that it would take away from what Mario is known for: platforming and quick movement options and completing obstacle courses at fast rates. And this will still be in the game, but in small segments sprinkled around the entirety of the world. The entire world is for exploration. It's for doing side quests, jumping and platforming around this fun, open world environment, and just kind of traversing the landscape with different power-ups and vehicles, where there are going to be platforming challenges that are separate that you could find by exploring this open world. We've seen stuff like this not just in Bowser's Fury, but also in Super Mario Odyssey, where there's not only just platforming challenges that you can complete for Power Moon, but there's also platforming challenge rooms that you get to enter and complete, which actually has you completing them without Cappy, which are some real test of skill, kind of like we had also in Super Mario Sunshine, where you would lose FLUDD for those missions, where it would really put you to the test with how well you can platform and get to the end. There could be a whole world full of these, and kind of think of these as like the shrines from Breath of the Wild. Instead of going in and battling something, or maybe even going in order to complete some puzzle, instead you're doing a big platforming challenge, and you have to make your way to the end. And maybe the challenge rooms can have star rankings before you enter, so you can see what you're getting yourself into. 1 star will be a relatively simple course, where 5 stars will be a course that is super aggravatingly difficult, which means you're going to have to be a platforming master in order to complete those, which I think would be a lot of fun and give people a lot of things to do even after they complete the base game. And I know we're on the topic of Bowser's Fury and how it's impacting this next 3D Mario game, but I don't think we're going to get the same moveset in Core Mario that we got from 3D World, because that one was a little stiff and not as fluid in movement as Super Mario Odyssey's was. And I think Nintendo knew that, but they knew this was going to be a tie-in to 3D World, so they gave him a 3D World moveset, because let's face it, Mario never felt as good as he has in Super Mario Odyssey. His flips and dives and rolls and being able to turn on a dime is really special, and it's one of the best moving video games I think I've ever played, so hopefully they do pull from Odyssey when it comes to Mario's moveset in this giant open world. Bowser's Fury was super special because of one thing, let's be honest, and that was Fury Bowser. In the middle of the map was a giant inked up Bowser shell that would slowly rise out of the ink every 6 to 12 minutes in random intervals and start rampaging all over the map. The only way to stop this was to get a cat shine or to grab the Giga Bell and turn into Giga Cat Mario and fight him head on in a 1v1 duel over and over again, unfortunately. This was the biggest love-hate relationship for everybody that played this game. I feel like if you had a complaint about Bowser's Fury, it was either it was too short or you were tired of fighting Fury Bowser, and that's definitely the case for me. I thought it was one of the coolest things ever the first couple of times, but honestly after 4, 5, 6, 7 times, it got to be very annoying very quickly. But I feel like this was used for a specific reason. They didn't even need to have Fury Bowser for something like this. Just giving us a small open world Mario game to run around and collect shines in would have been enough, and I think people would have been satisfied with that for sure. But Fury Bowser was this giant creepy creature kind of roaming the map, and you had to take him out each and every single time and keep your eyes on that timer where it pretty much showed him rising out of the ink. I think this was a really good idea that Nintendo had for like this world timer event thing that was happening on the map. And where I see this going with a future 3D Mario game and that of an open world is where there's multiple little events like this all over the map. It doesn't necessarily need to be a boss battle, or it doesn't necessarily need to have to do anything with Bowser. Maybe it's just at some specific time of the day, every single time, something happens, or at random intervals in one location, something is going on and moving around the open world, and it's our job to determine what's happening. Imagine there's a giant wiggler that's just upset and angry, and he's stomping and crushing villages and running all over the jungle part of the map, and it's our job to figure out why he's doing that, and once we find the solution of how to stop him, we have to wait for him to actually come back out and start his rampage again by paying attention to that in-game timer. That would be something that'd be really cool. Now there's bits and pieces of this within games like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where dragons will fly over the land in specific intervals at random times as well. And other little small events would happen. I mean, technically you would have like the divine beasts in Breath of the Wild walking around the terrain that they were on, which is really cool. But something along the lines of even Majora's Mask would be great. Having NPCs that come out at a specific time. NPCs that you have to meet up or talk to at specific times of day, or maybe each region has some type of overworld threat very similar to Fury Bowser, but like I said, every single region has one of these, and I think that would be done in a really cool way. I definitely think even in a way, Majora's Mask was an inspiration for Bowser's Fury, and I think it could be inspiration for games to come, and it was definitely ahead of its time with its in-game timer, and this in-game timer can be used for some really cool things, and I can't wait to see how they actually translate that effect into an open world Mario game. One category that might not have crossed your mind is the traversal, because Bowser's Fury does one thing that absolutely saves it from being a plagued, boring traversal overworld, and that is its vehicle. It has one vehicle, and I think in an open world, we could have many, but for Bowser's Fury, we have Plessy, and Plessy is an absolute blast to ride around on. Instead of just having a giant grassy open world, we have this giant lake, and to get across, we use Plessy as our speedboat, and he can be used to pretty much drive really fast, hop out of the water, explore from island to island, and even used in a small segment in the final boss. I mean, truly, there's a lot that Plessy can do in this mode, and actually serves as a main method of transportation. I would love to see something like this, but instead, having there be tons of different options for vehicles that we can ride. Maybe some for the water, like Plessy making a return. Maybe there's specific ones for land, like maybe even a Mario Kart that we can hop in and drive around the landscape, or some sort of land creature like a new Wiggler that we can ride around. That would be so awesome. Or maybe some type of fly vehicle as well, kind of like some type of bird or dragon that we can fly around in the air with. But I personally believe this is very important for an open world game, as it allows you to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. Sure, fast travel is probably always going to be an option, but being able to actually go throughout the terrain and look at things around you and explore areas quickly is going to be something that's a major factor. And I love the idea of Plessy, and I would love to see more ideas like this slapped into an open world 3D Mario. Now, after talking about the world, and of course talking about the main events like Fury Bowser, what else do we have from Bowser's Fury to pull from? Well, Bowser's Fury does something that we also have not seen yet before, which is a dedicated item inventory for a 3D Mario game. Well, to this degree. Both Mario 3D Land and 3D World had the options of saving items, at least 1 or 2 items in your inventory. But there's a big difference here. For one, the world is not a linear 3D platforming stage. This time we're more in a small mini open world, and even a sandbox if you want to go there. And we've never had something like that in a sandbox 3D Mario game, allowing us to just pop out an item and use it wherever we want. Also, we've never been able to carry this many items before. In Bowser's Fury, we have 6 categories of items that we can hold, and you can hold, I believe, up to 9 of each of those items. So if you're in dire need of a cat suit, you can pop out a cat bell and immediately have it if you found enough of that item in the overworld. This is something that would be amazing to have in a sandbox 3D Mario game, not to mention an open world Mario game. Imagine you're coming across a giant landscape with a huge cliffside, and you need to get to the top of the mountain as quickly as possible. Well, you have a cat suit, so you can pop that out, pop it on, and climb up at the top. Or you want to glide down, you can use the Tanuki suit in order to float down without taking damage. Or you can use the cape feather to fly across the gap. Or you're in the snow region and need to melt some snow banks or a giant ice block. You can use the fire flower. Or maybe you need to actually freeze over a river or a lake to get across, so you use the ice flower. Or maybe you need to get into this small area like in a small tree to get to a separate section of levels. That's where you use the mini mushroom. I think there's a lot of potential for item usages in an open 3D Mario game like this, and having this category of items that you just collect along your adventure and use whenever you need would be so cool. Or even if it's just one dedicated item. For instance, you finally find the mystical fire flower, which allows you to have fire flower abilities, plus maybe some new ones, and there's only one of these in the game, so when you find it, you get to use it, and instead of taking damage and losing that item, you just take damage like you would in Mario Galaxy, where you have 3 chunks of health. I mean, I literally just sat here and brainstormed how all these items could be used in an open world, and there's so many that I'm not even talking about, like the penguin suit sliding down a hill real fast, or maybe even the frog suit being able to swim in underwater sections of the map. There's so much they could do with this without even needing new items. I do think there will be, but having all of these old items available at the ready, if you just have an inventory like a book bag full of them, would be amazing. And I think this is something that would translate perfectly from Bowser's Fury over to the next 3D Mario. Now, Bowser's Fury is a relatively short game, and there's not a lot of other things to pull from besides one last thing, is co-op. Yes, you can actually technically have a second player play with Bowser Jr. within Bowser's Fury. Believe it or not, Bowser Jr. can be really helpful in this game, and actually even take out bosses for you, enemies, find treasures, secrets, and move around as long as he stays within a tethered area of Mario. Yeah, you're kind of stuck to Mario and you can't really go too far, but it still allows for an option to have a player fly around Mario, so if there is some type of creature or character that follows Mario within this new 3D Mario game coming, perhaps a second player can actually play as them. Or what if the second player is actually just Luigi, and you get to run around this open world with Luigi tethered to you, which means he can't run too far off, or maybe there's a split screen mode where the one player can play as Mario and other as Luigi, but second player will always have to follow after Mario. Or maybe if the hardware is strong enough, on the next open world 3D Mario game, the game allows you to roam and run anywhere with multiple different players. Could you imagine having online capabilities or multiple different players on one screen with split screen where you guys can like run around, play hide and seek, or just complete parts of the game depending on whose game that you join? That could be pretty cool, but I also see them just simply going with something very similar to Bowser Jr. Some type of sidekick floating character that you can use to complete specific tasks in the overworld by using the IR pointer camera again and pointing at things for them to interact with, or maybe they can do certain things as they power up and level up throughout the game that actually helps you along your adventure. I think there's some cool options here, and personally I would hope for an original new character, something like Cappy, or something that we've seen in the RPG games that work alongside Mario. but we're just gonna have to wait and see who Nintendo decides to go with. So I kinda told a lie, there's one more thing to go over, and that's the bosses. I think they should have overworld bosses similarly to the way we have them in Bowser's Fury. There's not a lot outside of Fury Bowser. In fact, it's only Boom Boom and Pom Pom, and you fight them each twice, so it's a little unfortunate that there is not more situations to fight bosses, but I get it, this is once again a small little add-on to a major game, so more like a tech demo to try things out. But dude, I would love to see overworld bosses all over the place. I mean, it would make me so happy to just be able to traverse the landscape and find a boss, or maybe little boss arenas where you can fight them. Once again, something similar to Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, where this was the same case. More challenging bosses as you look in deeper parts of the map, but just little bosses where if you defeat them, you'll get some type of special reward or a new item or something that's really worth your while. I think this would be something really cool because Mario games aren't necessarily all about boss battles, but this would be a great way to surprise players with a fun little battle that they can run across in the overworld. Bowser's Fury feels like a great rough draft to be followed up by an amazing final draft, which is gonna surely blow all of our minds when Nintendo decides to finally reveal this thing. It's been over 7 years since Super Mario Odyssey, so we're all waiting so patiently for the next 3D Mario game, and I just know it's going to be amazing. And odds are it's going to pull a lot from what Bowser's Fury did, and that makes me also very excited because I've always dreamt of running around a giant massive open world with Mario and friends, and I can't wait to see how well this actually works, if this is actually where they plan on going. There's a lot to be excited for and to look forward to as Mario fans, and I can't wait to see exactly what this project is. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Mario and Nintendo in general, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.